Hello everybody, Sean here, and we're taking a look at Mhigo, the level 70 main scenario quest dungeon. And as I said, you will access this through the MSQ, so don't worry about having to find any specific quests for this level 70 dungeon. Although do be aware that the other two level 70 dungeons cannot be completed until you finish the main scenario quest, at which point a small quest can be done to unlock the other 270 dungeons. So with that said, Mhigo, the main scenario quest level 70 dungeon, begins on the streets of Mhigo. You will have several trash pulls until you reach the first boss, but none of them are too noteworthy with the exception of one, and we're going to jump right. And the only trash pull that will see mod is this one. It'll occur as the third group you're supposed to attack. You walk up the stairs, they charge down the alley, you just need to make sure you quickly get to the sides of the street so you don't get hit, and then you tank them. They can hit pretty hard. These enemies have a pretty decent auto attack, but other than that, it's a standard group of trash. Just dodge that initial AoE. You don't want to start the fight half dead. Once you've killed them, you'll encounter a couple barricades after. You'll go up to them, enemies will appear, you kill the enemies, and then wait a few seconds for the barricades to get destroyed. You'll do this several times and eventually reach the first boss. And the first boss is this fellow, the Magitek Scorpion. I assure you no relation to the Shinra Corporation's Guard Scorpion, or at least I certainly hope not. The Magitek Scorpion has similar mechanics to the Guard Scorpion if you remember that fight, and the big thing is his tail laser. Every so often his tail laser will target people with that slow-moving circular AoE, which will eventually detonate, so all you need to do is run around and get out of the AoE. And then when they detonate, he will also use this forward and back line AoE. That's his only real major mechanic this fight, is that the tail laser, or the tail, will target you, and then the circles will detonate and he'll stand in a line doing those big AoEs. And the only thing that changes is over time, more and more AoEs will appear. That really is the main mechanic of this fight. So long as you can dodge the AoEs, you will be fine. You can DPS this boss down pretty quickly with a well-geared group, so it really just comes down to you being able to get away from the AoEs. Even if you step in them for a short time, you won't take too much damage. Just be mindful of the fact that you will get a debuff placed on you, so you don't want to stand in them forever because the debuff plus this base damage is going to hurt. But if you have to run through one flame AoE, it's not the biggest deal. You'll be fine. Just try not to stand in them too long. Again, that's really all there is to it. He has a couple other AoEs that are party-wide, but they only hit for a couple thousand damage. You really just need to watch out for that right there. And before too long, you'll kill him and move on to the second stage of this dungeon. Now, phase 2 of the dungeon is pretty straightforward, actually. You're just going to grab multiple groups of enemies here, tank them, kill them, move on to the next. There's nothing too unusual going on here. A couple of the groups are going to be quite large, and of course, some of the bigger enemies, some of the big Magitek enemies rather, do hit you pretty hard. So if you're the tank, be prepared to pop a cooldown or two, and use some healing rotations if you're a Dark Knight or Warrior, just to kind of keep yourself going and not strain the healer too much. But other than that, pretty straightforward. Section 2 of this dungeon is just tank and spank and move on to the next, and before too long you'll be at the second boss, and actually it is quite quick. There aren't a lot of enemies before the second boss. And the second boss is this fellow right here, that Garlean scientist, and he is surprisingly weak. You're going to kill this boss very fast, but it all hinges on one mechanic, and much like the first fight, this boss only has one major mechanic to speak of. He has a couple party-wide AoEs. You can't really do much about those, but there's one major mechanic that happens around 50 to 40%. You can see he also has this AoE, which he will use more frequently during the second phase of the fight. But this is the big one. He'll go to the center and use Magitek Disruptor, and it's essentially going to knock your soul out of your body. Not quite sure how that works, but that's what happens. You're then eventually going to regain control of yourself, and you move very sluggishly around, and you have to get back to your body. So follow the yellow line, get back to your body. However, during that time, these hands are going to be trying to grab you and slow you down. Now you notice you don't take any damage, but if you don't get to your body within about 30 seconds, you're just flat out killed. So you have about 30 seconds to get back to your body. It's not very difficult, but if you just keep getting grabbed over and over and over and over, you will die. So you need to slowly arc away from those hands and try to get to your body. Of course, if even one person gets to their body, they regain control of themselves and can go around killing everyone else's hand, making it much easier. The second phase of the fight is the same as the first. You can just see he uses a lot more AoEs. That's all there is to it, just a ton of AoEs. So as long as you can find somewhere safe, you'll be a-okay. There's no real way to dictate where is going to be safe. You just have to find that one section of ground that's safe and move on. Once that boss is dead, you'll be at the third section of the dungeon. The only thing that's noteworthy during the third section is this here. You'll occasionally come up against these laser fields. You just can't progress until you've killed them. So you can either kill the laser field first and then deal with the mobs, or you can kill the monsters first and then deal with the laser. Or I guess these aren't technically monsters. You could deal with the Garleans first and then the laser field. It doesn't really matter what order you do them in. I would not suggest trying to kill the laser fields and then grouping up 20 different pulls at once. Just kill the Garleans, then the laser field, move on to the next pull, rinse and repeat until you get to the third boss. And the final boss is Xenos himself, as you might expect. Now, if you are the tank, Xenos does have a tank buster. It's pretty hard to do anything about it. You can't really see when it's coming. It's just a 1-2-3 combo that he's going to do on you. So be prepared for that. Just pop a cooldown when you can. Now, when he uses these skills, he'll jump to the middle of the arena and he'll use different sword techniques. One is called Of the Storm. When he uses that one, you need to get away from him, or else because it does an AoE around him. So when he uses Of the Storm, you need to get away from him. When he uses Of the Swell, you want to get close to him because it's a pushback. And when he uses Of the Sword, it's unavoidable party-wide damage. You just have to tank through it. So again, when he uses Storm, get away from him. Swell, get close to him. And Sword is unavoidable. The other thing he will do throughout the fight, besides a few AoEs, is this big AoE, where he summons other versions of himself. First, the AoE will appear around him, and then around the other versions. When he tethers someone like this, that's because he's readying Lightless Spark. That person should aim it away from the party, preferably towards the outside edge of the arena. There's nothing else you can do about that, you just need to aim it away from the party. Concentrativity? Bit of a weird word to say. It's just a party-wide AoE. Again, nothing you can really do about that. You just gotta eat the damage. Again, his two main things are his Art of the Sword techniques, or the art techniques, rather, of the Sword, Swell, or Storm. And then the other big one is those AoEs where he summons clones of himself like this. And occasionally, as you see, he'll combo them. So in this case, you want to get close to him, Swell will knock you back, and then aim the other tethered targets away from the party so that they do not hit you. Again, those are the two big ones, so as long as you can deal with those, you'll be a-okay, and you'll eventually reach this phase of the fight. Now this is just a straight DPS check, as it is with most primal fights where you do something similar. You can see his Aether Gauge is charging, and all you need to do is DPS down the 3 swords. Each sword can attack using its associated art technique, so the red one uses Art of the Sword, green uses Art of the Swell, blue uses Art of the Storm. So keep that in mind, this particularly the healer, that you will have to heal occasionally, but for the most part, all 4 people in the party should be DPSing. It doesn't matter what percentage the gauge gets to, as long as it's not 100, so just make sure you kill all 3 swords before they reach 100, and you'll be a-okay. Obviously, if it gets to 100, it is going to spell your doom. And once he's finished his attack, you could just finish him off. He'll have between 10 and 20% health, most likely, and you just need to finish him off. He'll keep using the same attacks you've seen thus far, the art techniques and his cloning technique, but otherwise that's it. So there you guys go. That is it for the Ala Mhigan dungeon. I hope this helps you out. I thank you for watching, and we'll see everyone next time.